Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that House Memorial 64 be removed from the Speaker's table and made the next order of business.
If there is no objection, it is so ordered. Let the record reflect that all action necessary for placing House Memorial 64 on final passage has been taken. The gentleman, explain the memorial.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This past November, the city of Las Cruces and state of New Mexico sustained a loss in the passing of former state representative Ed Boykin. This legislature shares in that loss. Mr. Boykin, as you will hear, is a patriarch of our community, and in many ways, very reminiscent to me of my own father. He was an athlete, a coach, he was a teacher, he was a veteran, he was a journalist, and in the end also a legislator, and was a moving force in the creation of our spaceport during his time of service here in the legislature. At this point, Speaker, I would ask the clerk to read the memorial.
House Memorial 64, introduced by Representative McClellan, a memorial honoring William Edward Boykin and recognizing his outstanding service to New Mexico. Whereas William Edward Boykin, who served as state representative for District 37 in Doña County for 6 years, died on November 17, 2015, and whereas Mr. Boykin was born June 27, 1932 in Clarendon, Texas, and he and his family later moved to southern New Mexico, and whereas Mr. Boykin attended grade school in Las Cruces and was a member of the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts of America, and whereas during high school, Mr. Boykin lettered in 4 sports, was elected senior vice president, participated in the band and choral music, and acted in junior and senior class plays. And whereas Mr. Boykin was awarded a full scholarship to New Mexico State University, where he excelled as a football player, playing quarterback, tight end, split end, defensive end, and defensive back as needed. And whereas while attending New Mexico State University, Mr. Boykin was a sports editor, yearbook editor, vice president of the student governing body, and a cadet commander at the school's Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps. And whereas in 1954, Mr. Boykin graduated from New Mexico State University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism and a Master of Arts degree in English. And whereas Mr. Boykin worked for newspapers in Las Cruces and Artesia before entering the United States Air Force. And whereas in 1958, Mr. Boykin separated from the military and entered graduate school. And whereas Mr. Boykin married Joe Irving in July 1958, and they both started careers with the Las Cruces Public Schools, where Mr. Boykin was employed as the head football coach, English teacher, sponsor of the school paper and yearbook, and activities director at various times. Whereas in 1970, Mr. Boykin joined the Aggie football staff as a linebacker coach for 3 seasons, after which he worked as a state director for an insurance company for 3 years. And whereas in 1976, Mr. Boykin and his family moved to Farmington, where Mr. Boykin was a high school assistant principal for 8 years and principal for 2 years. And whereas a highlight for Mr. Boykin was the unusual opportunity to present diplomas to his children, Marty, Doug, and Ken, upon their graduations. And whereas Mr. Boykin took early retirement to care for his ailing wife, Joe, who passed away in 1992. And whereas in 1996, Mr. Boykin married Jane Larson. And whereas Mr. Boykin was interim principal of the Sea Valley Christian School, where he served until the end of the 1998 school year. Whereas from 2001 to 2006, Mr. Boykin, a Republican, represented House District 37, which covered Doña County. And whereas Mr. Boykin served on the Education Committee, the Taxation and Revenue Committee, the Transportation Committee, the Enrolling and Grossing Committee, and numerous interim committees during his term in office. And whereas Mr. Boykin served as coach of the House of Representatives basketball team during his tenure as a legislator, leading the team to several important victories over the Senate. Whereas Mr. Boykin was honored by the Albuquerque Journal for his work in sponsoring bills that laid the groundwork for Spaceport America. And whereas Mr. Boykin chose not to run for office after 2006, and he and his wife Jane spent lots of quality time at their cabin, joyous gardening at Willow Creek Ranch on the northern edge of the Gila Wilderness. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the State of New Mexico that William Edward Boykin be honored for his years of public service and dedication to the residents of New Mexico, and be it further resolved that a copy of this memorial be to the family of William Edward Boykin.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman from Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my request that the chamber observe a moment of silence in honor of the passing of Ed Boykin, after which I'd like to introduce his family members on the line.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will introduce several members of Ed Boykin's family who are here in attendance. I would ask each of you to rise when I introduce you. Ed's wife, Jane Boykin, is here. Ed's brother, Bill Boykin. Janice Boykin, Ed's sister-in-law. Kenneth Boykin, Ed's son. Jake Boykin, Ed's grandson. Kate Boykin, Ed's granddaughter. Gus Boykin, Ed's son. Maureen Boykin, Ed's daughter-in-law. Betty Woolley, Ed's sister. Martha McCray, Ed's daughter. And Butch Woolley, Ed's nephew.
Kim Boykin,
Kim Boykin, and she is
daughter-in-law.
daughter-in-law. I'm sorry, Kim. Please join me in welcoming all these family members one more time. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, and members, Ed preceded me in holding this seat in the legislature, and a few months after I was elected, he sent me a 4-page handwritten a letter of advice, counsel, and sharing of his wisdom in how to execute the duties of this office in an appropriate, efficient, and ethical way. It was well appreciated, and there were several points of wisdom there that took to heart immediately. And he referred to some parts of, I remember, and will never forget, he referred to some parts of what we do here as monkey business. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I stand for questions.
We do have to wait. The gentleman from Ghana is in stand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, gentlemen, for bringing this memorial. A little bit of history, welcome to the Boykin family. A little bit of history, gentlemen, you might remember, I preceded you in that seat in the legislature. I have the scars to prove it, but of course, Representative Boykin was a predecessor in that seat and was the first person I ran against the state legislature, and he beat me by 344 votes. And it was a totally positive campaign, and Coach Boykin, I was up against a formidable force, and I knew I was, but I just want to know, I had the privilege, and Doug, I haven't seen you since I worked with Senator Bingham, and Doug, his son up there, is a state forester. I don't know if you still are, but just a fantastic public servant for the state, who, anything you'd ever want to know about forestry, he taught me whatever little I know and still remember I learned from that guy. And Jane, so sorry for your loss, and Ben and all your service in the aerospace business and the rest of your family. Really sincere sadness for your loss, and it's good to see your whole family here, and appreciate those gentlemen for recognizing your dad. He was a great man, a great public servant. So, thank you.
And the gentleman, the other gentleman from Ghana, is in
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't need the gentleman from Doña as a yield to me. I just want to say that I welcome all of the Boykins here, and I've known most of them for a long time. And I had the pleasure of serving with Coach Boykin here for several years. For all the years he was in the house, I served with him. And we was on the same committee at times, and we really is good, but he's doing his job. Anyway, welcome, folks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let me take this opportunity also, welcome the family here. I know I served with, Representative Boykin for the 6 years that he was here. And he was kind of our general voice that would say, and you guys just think about this, because he would try to actually step back and look at legislation and not get wrapped up in the heat of the moment. So he was a true statesman, and we really are proud to have served with him. I'm fortunate enough, I'm kind of a neighbor of Doug's. We have a adjoining field there. I think his horses run on a piece of my property. And they seem pretty healthy too. It works pretty good.
Thank you.
I just wanted to welcome everybody here. We're sorry for your loss. A great man, and he will be with us. Thank you. Do we have for the debate? The gentleman, the close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we in the legislature on this floor share in the loss that the family feels. We also share the joy as we celebrate this great man's legacy. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask that House Memorial 64 do now pass, and I ask unanimous consent that all members be shown voting in the affirmative.
We are on final passage of House Memorial 64, and the gentleman has asked for unanimous consent to show all members present voting in the affirmative. Is there objection? Seeing none, the vote is now open. The vote is now closed. By a vote of 54 in affirmative, 0 in the negative, House Memorial 64 has duly passed this House.